What's up, summoners? Welcome back to another ProGuides video. My name is Nathan Ng, and today we'll be talking about the upcoming changes planned for 11.2. This is the first patch after Riot released their balance goals for the rest of Season 11. There's a lot to cover here, including healing nerfs, tank item changes, and so much more. Before we get started, I want you guys to know that we're doing a giveaway over at ProGuides. We're talking RP, ProGuide points, subscriptions, and so much more. If you're interested, make sure you subscribe to our channel. Then take a second to join our community Discord with the link in the description down below. Once you're there, the giveaway section will guide you the rest of the way. Our giveaway ends on the 14th, so join before it's over. Okay, so let's dive into this patch 11.2 preview. We'll start off with the item and rune nerfs, then the buffs, and then the adjustments. After that, we'll be going through the list of champions that are being nerfed or buffed. All of these predicted changes come from Riot Scruffy's Twitter, so give him a follow if you want to stay up to date with League's balance, or just follow us and we'll do the same thing. Ravenous Hunter is our first and only rune to get nerfed in 11.2, with the Omnivamp per stack lowering from 2% to 1.7%. This is a huge change and one that I'm super excited for. Healing is a hot topic in the game right now, and we're not talking about Soraka or Yuumi. Champions that are classified as healing supports are supposed to heal. Sure, it gets annoying when they're head, but at least they're not one-shotting people as well. Ravenous Hunter and Conqueror are the biggest culprits for the increased healing in the game, but with Ravenous being the only reason to go straight into the domination tree for most champions. Because Conqueror takes time to ramp up over a fight, it's in a decent place for both damage and healing. On the other hand, a max stacked Ravenous Hunter gives you 10% Omnivamp for just playing the game. With this nerf, we're looking at a maximum of 8.5% Omnivamp bonus, which is a great nerf to gauge the effectiveness of lowering the healing in the game. Right now, you're gonna need this healing reduction in every single match with the meta champion. Healing reduction should be a choice to fight against heavy healers, not champions that happen to heal and kill you at the same time by just taking Ravenous Hunter. The first item on our nerf list is Hextech Rocket Belt. We weren't given details about how exactly they're nerfing it, but Rocket Belt's most impressive feature is its active. The old Proto Belt gave you a bit of mobility and damage, helping melee champions like Fizz and Echo stay on their targets and force them to blink or flash away. Rocket Belt does the same thing, but it's way better. The range is longer, and the extra movement speed makes it so hard to successfully run away. If Riot is planning to nerf Rocket Belt, my guess would be some hits to the active. They've already lowered most of the stats on all mythic AP items, so I'd be surprised if they did it again. Expect to see an increased cooldown, lowered movement speed bonus, or both. The next item on our list is Gale Force. After lowering the active cooldown and adjusting some stats, Gale Force is being picked up a lot by more ranged physical damage dealers. This is greatest for ADCs, but champions like Graves are also picking up this item. The mobility is really high and it feels like it overshadows Shield Bow. Why build an anti-burst and sustain item when you're just gonna dash away on a 60-second cooldown? I feel like the ADC mythic items are almost in a balanced state, but it's honestly gonna be hard to tell what happens if Gale Force gets nerfed way too hard. I think buffing Shield Bow a little would make the three items totally balanced, but we'll have to wait a bit first. Before we talk about our item buffs, our question of the day is, what's one balance change that you want to see in Season 11? Be sure to let us know in the comments down below. Okay, so the first item to get buffed is Turbo Chem Tank. The cost is being lowered from 3,200 to 2,800. Because of this, the build path is being changed, replaced with a Negatron Cloak with a Null Magic Mantle. This lowers the total MR from 50 to 25. Chem Tank's ability haste is getting increased from 15 to 20, and the mythic passive is being swapped with Sunfires. This means that Turbo Chem Tank's passive is an additional 5 ability haste per completed legendary, and Sunfire gives you 5% tenacity and slow resistance. While we're at it, the third tank mythic, Frostfire Gauntlet, is also getting buffed, lowering from the 2,800 as well. The build path also replaced the Chain Vest with Cloth Armor, lowering the completed item's armor from 50 to 25. To make up for this, the ability haste is going up from 15 to 20. These are some big tank changes, lowering Sunfire's overall effectiveness. I don't know if we'll only see Chem Tanks and Gauntlets, but I think both of these items have a lot more use than they did in patch 11.1. Right now, Sunfire is just way better. Two cheaper, unique mythic items help tanks that have a legendary item as a core part of their kit, such as Malphite and Rammus. It also gives support tanks more choices. 2,800 gold is only a couple more than support mythics, so we might see some Chem Tank Recon initiate fights. If you think tanks were done getting some love, well, think again. Gargoyle Stoneplate is getting buffed, increasing the passive bonus resistance from 3% with a cap of 15% to 5% with a cap of 25%. These are some really solid changes, and a second item Stoneplate after completing the new Chem Tank or Gauntlet will give you so much flat armor and MR. I can see Stoneplate fitting into most builds, initially becoming a nice third item instead of a fourth or fifth. Our final item getting buffed is Essence Reaver. The mana restored is being totally changed from 3% of your max mana to 40% of your base AD plus 60% of your bonus AD. This is a great change, especially for champions that heavily rely on the mana to clear waves in a team fight. Sivir and Zaya come to mind as Essence Reaver champions that were punished by the old passive. No ADC, but Ezreal and Ashe build mana, and the new presence of mind with their max mana hardly increases over the game. This buff might be enough to bring back some of our old wave clearing ADCs, so keep an eye out and let us know how it feels. Our final set of item changes are classified as adjustments, and these changes seem like they're just targeting in-game power spikes and the effectiveness of situational items. Phantom Dancer and Ruinous Hurricane are having their price increased from 2,500 to 2,600, with an extra 5% attack speed to compensate. This shouldn't affect any champions that build these too much, just make sure that you recall with enough gold to buy them. Late game with 5% attack speed is a straight buff. Both Umbral Glaive and Serpent's Fang are having their cost lowered from 2,800 to 2,600 and lose 580 from their completed versions. Umbral Glaive also has a new build path, going from 1 Caulfield's Warhammer into 2 longswords. This item gives players access to the sweeper passive earlier at the cost of some early game ability haste. Losing out on ability haste feels bad early, but I think this trade-off will help balance how oppressive some early assassins are. Campunk Chainsword has its cost lowered from 2,700 to 2,600, losing 50 total health in the process. Like the other assassin items, this will give you the opportunity to get a completed passive quicker. Sherelia's Battle Song has the biggest adjustments, lowering the health from 350 to 200. The 5% movement speed is being changed into 40 AP, and the base mana regeneration is being increased from 50% to 100%. Sherelia is now built from Kindle Gem and Bandle Glass Mirror, making it the third support mythic to build from these two items. This change is meant to give Enchanter supports an additional option, providing less tankiness for more AP and mana. This change also seems weird since it removes one of the 2 tank support mythic options. However, the new Turbo Chem Tank and the Frostfire Gauntlet are 2 slightly more expensive tank support options. This gives both Enchanter supports and tank supports 3 options, assuming they're all balanced equally. We'll need to see how these item changes play out before we can even say how good or bad they are for item diversity. Moving on to the champion nerfs, we won't really talk about the specific changes yet. We will have a pretty good idea about what Riot will be probably nerfing, so let's jump into the list. Aatrox is the first champion on the chopping block, with Riot Scruffy tweeting that the changes are more of a neutral shifting of power away from the healing amp. If the plan is to lower his healing output, this will hit him pretty hard when paired with the Ravenous Hunter changes. A double nerf means that Aatrox might have some of his power shifted into other areas of his kit, like damage or CC. I wouldn't give up on him just yet. Our next champion is Olaf, which makes a lot of sense considering his pick and win rate. Olaf is just so oppressive in the early game metas, and a lot of his power comes from his high 1v1 potential and clear speed. I hope Riot only nerfs one of those, otherwise he might become a bad pick right now. Darius is another champion to get nerfed, which makes sense in the tank-heavy toppling meta. He's avoided nerfs for a while, including most of his core items. Darius just totally stomps in solo queue, and it isn't that hard to play him. I like Riot to shift more of his power towards his edge of his queue, giving him some skill expression. Right now, it's too hard to punish him, which makes playing against him a total nightmare. The next champion on our list is Nunu. Can I say thank God? I don't really know how Amumu was constantly hotfix nerfed, while Nunu has been running around with a 53% win rate for so long. This guy quite literally snowballs games. There are a lot of potential nerfs for this guy since he's so good at everything. His ganks are great, his clear is great, and his teamfight is great. I like to see some sort of nerf to Nunu's W, slowing down some of his early game gank potential. There's no reason that Nunu should always be able to gank successfully whenever he feels like it. Maokai is also getting nerfs, especially in the support role. Imperial Mandate E Maokai might be one of the most frustrating things to play against, and it definitely needs some nerfs. The damage and zone control is just way too high. To make matters worse, you literally can't outrun Maokai's empowered sapling if you don't have any boots. Even if Riot totally destroys AP Maokai, he's still a strong tank support, so I don't think we'll be seeing the last of him. But unlike Maokai, we just might have to branch out. Our next victim is Akali, a controversial champion who needs to be designed around both solo queue and pro play. Right now, Akali does way too well against melee champions, and she performs super well when being played by mains and high elo players. Expect to see some nerfs to her damage or her wave clear, and that's pretty much the only stuff that Riot's been nerfing about her. The last champion to get a nerf is Elise. This might come as a surprise to you guys, but Elise has been the strongest AP assassin jungle for quite some time. Her ability to tower dive with a long-lasting stun gives her so much utility as the game progresses. Even if you're not able to assassinate somebody, Elise can peel for her teammates unlike Kha'Zix or Evelynn. I think we might see a nerf to her Q damage or her stun duration, or lower some of her tankiness in spider form. With the nerfs out of the way, let's talk about some fun stuff, including the 11.2 buffs. Like the nerfs, we don't have much to go off other than the list, so we'll give you our best guesses according to the statistics of high elo analysis. The first champion to get a buff is Dr. Mundo. He's been suffering compared to other tanks, mostly due to his lack of CC and health reliance. With how good Leandre's and Demonic Embrace are, Mundo gets pretty messed up by these strong picks in the game. I'm glad Riot isn't just ignoring him, even if he's getting an update soon. I think we might see an increase to his CC, specifically his slow on his cleaver. Trundle's also getting a buff, just in time for pro play. Trundle is one of the best anti-tank choices, and buffing him adds an important element into both solo queue and professional games. I love to see it buffs his 1v1 potential, since his tankiness mostly comes from his ultimate. Moving on from the tanks, Shaco is getting buffs in 11.2. With 2 different Shaco builds, one AP and one AD, it's always hard to guess what exactly will be changed about him. Since he isn't performing that well, we might get some buffs to both of them. The next champion to get buffed is Nocturne. With most of his core items being nerfed, Nocturne struggles to find a place in the meta with just his auto-attack assassin-based gameplay. If Nocturne gets some damage buffs, we might see him in mid and top lane once again. Moving on, the only mage on our buff list is Leblanc. She's struggling right now, with no good reason to pick her over any other assassin. Her damage is just low, and she somehow gets outscaled in 20 mini games. Leblanc needs some serious buffs, and I think we might see her get better wave clear so she can keep up with the other mages. Personally though, I just don't want to see this champion, so. We're getting buffs to 3 massively underperforming ADCs, Caitlyn, Varus, and Senna. Even after all the item buffs, these guys are just lacking compared to everyone else. Caitlyn struggles with damage, Varus with mobility, and Senna just has poor item choices and life choices. Why would you take away Viego's wife, man? That's not cool. I think we'll be seeing some big buffs to these 3, especially after that big item changes are out of the way. The last champion to get buffed in the list is Soraka. Out of all the healing supports, Soraka is suffering the most. There are just way too many assassins and divers right now, and Soraka only provides heals and nothing else. Well, I guess silences and snares too if you could land it. I think we need to see some buffs to her Q and E to help her keep up with enchanters like Nami and Lulu. That will wrap up everything in the 11.2 patch preview. With this being the first patch after the start of the rank season, we're excited to see how these changes affect the game balance. I just hope to never see AP Maokai support again. Don't forget to answer our question of the day in the comments down below, and as always, my name is Nathan Ng, stay safe, stay healthy, and have a wonderful day. Peace.